What happens when a country superstar and a veteran television host collide? Over artistic integrity live on national TV? The air inside Studio 1A turned electric, tension thick enough to cut through as Carrie Underwood sat opposite Sheinelle Jones on the Today Show couch. What began as a polished interview quickly spiraled into one of the most talked about walkouts in daytime television history. Before we get into the shocking story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tell me what you think. Should artists stand their ground, even when it means walking away? That morning began like any other press stop. Carrie arrived at Rockefeller Plaza before sunrise, her team working with the precision of clockwork. Makeup perfect, signature waves in place, the country icon was ready to promote her deeply personal new album, one exploring faith, family, and staying true to oneself in an industry driven by image. Her publicist had reviewed the list of predictable questions. Her tour, her kids, her creative process. Nothing controversial, nothing risky. Sheinelle Jones, however, had other ideas. Known for her charm and warmth, she had built a career on being personable yet probing. But that morning, something in her shifted. Perhaps she wanted to break the pattern of safe celebrity interviews. Maybe it was the growing public. Conversation about authenticity and social awareness in country music. Whatever the reason, Sheinelle decided to ask what others wouldn't. The broadcast began at 8:15 a.m. Cameras rolled. Lights glowed softly and the crowd outside cheered. The first few minutes were easy. Talk of Carrie's career, her American Idol beginnings, her family and her tour. She smiled, poised and gracious. But midway through, Sheinelle's tone changed. "Carrie," she began, leaning slightly forward, "your new album explores themes of truth and faith. You talk about staying authentic. Can you share what that means to you?" Carrie smiled politely. "I think all artists try to balance success with staying true to themselves. For me, this record is about honesty, my faith, my experiences." "That's interesting," Sheinelle said, "because lately, there's been talk about artists claiming authenticity while avoiding controversy. Some critics say real truth means taking visible stance. What do you think?" Carrie's eyes narrowed slightly. "I've always been open about my beliefs in my life. I don't think I've ever hidden who I am." Sheinelle's expression softened, but she didn't pull back. "Let's talk specifics. Your song Stand Still, the line about standing firm when the world wants you to kneel, has sparked debate online. Some call it a subtle political statement." Carrie exhaled slowly. "Music is open to interpretation. I write about my faith and perseverance. People can find their own meaning in that. But don't you think," Sheinelle continued carefully, "as someone with such a wide influence, there's a responsibility to clarify what you mean, especially when lyrics are seen as political?" Carrie's fingers tightened on the arm of the couch. "My responsibility," she said evenly, "is to my art. I'm not a politician. I write from the heart. That's it." Sheinelle nodded. "I understand that. But in today's climate, silence or neutrality can be interpreted as taking a side. Isn't that something you think about?" The energy in the studio shifted. Crew members glanced at each other. Carrie's publicist stood rigid off camera, sensing the storm building. "You know what, Sheinelle?" Carrie said, her smile fading. "I came here to talk about my music, not to defend it line by line." "I'm not trying to attack you," Sheinelle said calmly. "I just think your fans deserve insight when your songs touch on important issues." Carrie's tone hardened. "My songs already tell them who I am. If someone reads more into them, that's their choice, not my responsibility." The air crackled with tension. Sheinelle, composed as ever, pressed on. "What about higher ground? You mentioned building walls of faith. Some people think that's a reference to current politics. Did you expect that?" Carrie gave a short, humorless laugh. "So now writing about spiritual protection makes me political? That's what's wrong with everything right now. People can't separate art from headlines." "I get your frustration," Sheinelle said. "But intention and impact don't always align. When your fans use those lyrics to push political messages online, doesn't that give you some responsibility to respond?" Carrie shook her head, her patience thinning. "You want to talk responsibility? My only job is to create, honestly. If I worried about every possible interpretation, I'd never sing another word." Sheinelle leaned back slightly. "But your newer songs draw the line, no compromise. They do feel more assertive. Would you say you're being more outspoken?" Carrie's jaw set. "And what if I am? Maybe I'm done walking on eggshells. Maybe authentic Carrie isn't the version everyone finds comfortable. The room went still. Even the production crew froze. "I'm not criticizing you," Shale said, voice steady but cautious. "But with a platform like yours, your words do carry influence." "That's undeniable." Carrie's expression darkened. "So now I'm responsible for how millions of people interpret my songs? For how strangers twist my words online?" "I'm just asking if you consider it," Shale replied gently. Carrie stood suddenly, the movement sharp. "And there it is. The assumption that I'm accountable for everyone's opinions, that I need to explain my art so it fits some checklist of political correctness." "Carrie," Shale said, trying to calm the moment, "please sit down. Let's move on to your tour." But Carrie wasn't done. "No, Shale, I think we're right on track. You invited me here to talk about my album. But this was never about music. This was about pushing me into saying something headline-worthy." "I wasn't trying to ambush you," Shale said, her voice steady but her posture tense. "I'm just asking real questions." Carrie's laugh was bitter. "Real questions or bait? My fans don't need you to explain my lyrics to them. They understand what my songs mean because they feel them. That's the beauty of art." The control room scrambled to decide whether to cut to commercial. The studio audience sat frozen. Shale took a breath, searching for a way back. But then she said the one thing that made everything unravel. "Carrie," she began, "don't you think that kind of attitude, writing without concern for consequences, comes from a place of privilege?" The word hit hard. Carrie froze. A flash of disbelief crossed her face before it hardened into quiet anger. "Privilege?" she repeated slowly. "You think I've had it easy?" Her voice grew stronger with every word. "I've spent 20 years being judged for everything. My songs, my clothes, my faith, my marriage. Too country, too pop, too political, not political enough. Every move I make is dissected by people who think they know me better than I do." Shale tried to interject, but Carrie wasn't done. "You want to talk about privilege? It's sitting in that chair, assuming you can define what my art should mean to people. That's privilege." The studio was dead silent. Carrie began unclipping her microphone. The sound tech hesitated as she handed it over. "I came here to celebrate music," she said, voice steady but emotional. "Instead, I'm being lectured about privilege by someone who clearly doesn't understand what constant scrutiny feels like." "Carrie, wait," Shale said, standing now, panic flickering across her face. "We can start over. Talk about your tour, your fans." Carrie shook her head. "No, we can't, because this is who you are. And this is who I am. The difference is I don't have to fake it." She turned and walked off, her heels echoing against the studio floor. Sheinelle stood frozen, cameras still rolling, unable to find words, and just like that, one of the most explosive moments in morning television was born. What began as a friendly, chat about music became a confrontation about responsibility, perception, and what it really means to stay true to one's art. Carrie's walkout wasn't just a dramatic moment. It was a statement. A reminder that even the most, media-trained stars have their breaking points when authenticity is questioned. So what do you think? Was Carrie right to stand her ground and walk away? Or should artists address how their work is interpreted? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this one.